Hello and welcome to a Backseat Critique with me, Diamond Hagen, with Journus and Teddy.
What am I doing here? I didn't know this was a backseat critique. I could be doing other things. Definitely
So
wish I was
apparently is
doing other
named after
things
me.
after that film.
So you watched that film of your own free will then?
God help me.
Yeah. And in this series, we watch films over Discord. We used to do it in person, but we don't like people anymore. And we chat about it afterwards and put it up for people to look at and listen to. Although, given how we look and how we sound, it's probably best to do neither. Luckily, looking at our numbers, a lot of people have taken that advice already. Excellent work. But we
Did a bit of
watched
it.
Borderlands, which no one should do. But again, looking at the numbers, no one did.
Yep.
This was a terrible, terrible film. I thought people were being overly harsh, but no, they weren't.
No, I would really like to see what the original form before they re-edited it to hell and back
Oh,
was.
This was definitely compiled by committee. You can tell someone came into this with a functional script and then it just kind of got split apart to different people who made different little edits, and then an executive went, do you know what would be cool? If they drove through a puddle of piss and it went in the car.
Yeah, I
There
imagine
was a film where that happened. There was a film a few years ago where Suicide Squad. It was literally re-edited.
Oh, you are freezing, my dear.
I think we have lost
See,
Hagen.
and so they have you?
We did.
You're
We
back now.
lost you.
Oh dear. And I was saying the there was a movie where that happened. There was a couple of different edits floating around and sort of battling against each other. And the producers saw the trailer was well received, so they gave the trailer house the edit to do the movie, and it just comes out editing is mangled, and that was Suicide Squad.
Makes sense. That was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, considering that Jamie Lee Curtis, how did she get signed up for this? But also, she wasn't recruited until after they had finished filming the main thing. So every shot she's in with other people looks weird and janky, and that's because she is digitally put in.
Must have done at least some reshoots based on it, but yeah, I can think of another film where that happened too. Army of the Dead with Zack Snyder. One of the main characters was accused of terrible things after they'd finished filming, so they digitally removed him and replaced him with Tig Notaro from Star Trek Discovery Series 3 and 4, the acerbic engineer. And it is so very odd.
I did not know that.
But yeah, but I never played any of the Borderlands games. I walked in on Eric playing Borderlands 2 and only playing a little bit because he didn't like it. So I would have this completely blind, but I get the feeling that this was designed to irritate people who played the game and people who don't know the game in equal measure.
I
Yeah.
think they were successful if that was the case.
They merged two characters together. They there was the spoilers, by the way. Y'all know Tiny Tina. Tiny Tina is one of the best characters in that game, in my opinion. I love Tiny Tina. They merged her with the artificially created daughter of Pandora to try and open the things. That's two different characters they've slapped into one for no fucking reason. And they also had none of Tiny Tina's charm, which I am sad.
But
It reminded me of lobotomized Tank Girl.
Remind me later to get some clips for Tiny Tina, and you will see that she can be absolutely hilarious. The biggest thing about her was that she did a lot of silly voices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you remember when she says, "Can you hand me my badonkadonk?" She talks a lot like that in the games, and in the film, it's just she says that once, and that's about it.
yeah, like I didn't
Completely
think
mischaracterized her.
I didn't think much of her introduction. Like the opening sequence in the prison was entirely unnecessary, and if anything, it undercut the following sequences of surprise. But the actual introduction to her in the caravan was just silly and not in a good way. In a terrible action sequence. It's like, come on. So much of this just the editing was awful because obviously it was re-edited to fuck. I'm back. But taking the CG was terrible in places. We're
Yep.
talking about really, really bad stuff. Other parts it was okay, but mostly it was not very good. Very
Chunks of it
disappointing.
were like what happens when someone who is most definitely not George Miller tries to be George Miller. Like it's sequences, not the whole thing, but like the big chase scene and stuff like that. It was very sub George Miller.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
the action sequences themselves were piss poor for the most part, messily shot, messily edited. Again, the actual CG was terrible. But then you've got the mindless armies of enemies, and they all come at them all at the same time, and the heroes are shooting, and you even got the hero who has no experience with shooting is magically able to shoot people successfully. You've got the main character who in one scene is able to shoot five people perfectly, but as soon as she goes up against one of the other main characters, she can't shoot someone at point blank range. You've all the crazy psychopaths who are meant to be super amazing, scare the fuck out of everybody, and they literally take on an entire army of them without a scratch. It's just so terrible.
Yeah.
You froze there. I don't know. It seems to be happening a bit.
Yeah, I think it's on your side.
Well,
Oh
I'm
dear.
locally recording, so even if their camera does freeze up a bit, you can still get their audio because
I'd be.
they're over there.
I'm gonna try and be in a funny position for I freeze.
Haha. What? Don't throw stuff at me.
Missed.
That,
But
you're not very convincing there.
there were massive continuity errors within scenes. Like, there are several points where they jump around and their clothes are like off, or their gun is in a certain way with stuff hanging off it, and then it cuts back to them immediately, and they are um, fully neat and cleaned up again. And yeah, there's one shot that is infamous, and I'm pretty sure half of you have heard of this already. But there's a point where the camera is looking up from the underside of a hatch that they're opening, and Krieg opens it, and you can see a member of the stage crew with a crew T-shirt and an N95 mask and a headset reach over and lift the panel. It is so obvious; it's right at the top of the screen.
I mean, I've seen worse. I remember I went to a what was that? The Tom Cruise film about World War II, the assassination, Valkyrie. And they'd somehow screwed up the print where they hadn't got the black bars at the top of the screen, so you were able to see stuff that was from the shot on the
Oh,
day, but was meant to not be there. But it was very
Oh.
much there, and they did that for about a third of the film. It was unbelievable.
My favorite ridiculous thing about Valkyrie is that you know how you got the classic German font and it's all over that film. You know the classic Gothic font. That was literally banned by the Nazis for being Jewish.
But going back to what Jonas was saying regarding the stagehands type thing, there was a scene not far from that. The first action sequence in the car, and towards the end of it, they're all screaming. Visually, they are not screaming. They just ADR'd screaming over them for about a second, and it just looked so dumb.
I'm pretty sure Tina is actually talking in that cut as well.
Like the main lady, she was clearly happy. She was smiling. It's just unbelievable.
It was very lazy. Either that's very, very lazy, or they literally didn't have a scream filmed, and they were like, "Oh no, what's the closest thing?" Because I've had to fudge stuff like that. But you know, when we're filming, it's a couple of hours, you know, and that's it. That's all we have.
Yeah, I'm sure if they
You
gave
gotta.
you $120 million budget, you'd be able to work that out.
I suppose it depends on where
Yeah.
they're shooting. There are some places where you run out of the light or they've only got it for a few days, but this honestly has no excuse because the
Yeah,
size of
all
it, they were
green,
shooting in
all
a desert. But
either a desert or a fake desert and a green screen. So either way, the something definitely got very borked.
Yeah.
Kind of
also,
reminding me,
Krieg.
uh,
Krieg is
the fact.
Go, you head first.
Oh no, the fact, the way that the very weird, undefinable way to explain how just something just feels off in the editing. Like the script and all is terrible. All of these things are bad, and even the directing's not very good. But the editing is something went wrong in the edit. It reminds me of the New Who episode Legend of the Sea Devils, where the script was fine. It was not completely terrible, but then you can tell something in production and editing went very wrong, and it's just edited in a random, haphazard way. They're trying to get around something, but and it's just it's very much like that.
But I do agree. There's a lot of points where the editing is janky. Like at one point in the film, their audio was off just by like maybe 2 frames. So their lips were moving and their audio didn't quite match up. I thought it was our streaming, but not long after that sequence, this is the sequence with the Thresher too, by the way, everything lined up again perfectly. So that was in shot. But Krieg is the resident psycho. At the very start, when we first introduced him, he has the psycho mask, and it is done with the cell shading style with Borderlands. And then the first time we come across him, he's in like the traditional psycho gear whenever he's fighting Lilith. And again, everything has that kind of like exaggerated black line to make it cell shaded. Halfway through the chase sequence, the shell shading disappears. The big black lines that were on his like arm pieces are gone. That's what I mean when they were saying there's like no continuity between the costumes. Oh, Hagen has frozen again. Curse you, Hagen.
Well, while Hagen's frozen, let me talk about characters.
I'm back again.
3.
I was frozen while I was saying something, but just that it's a bit like Four Stick, where you had in the Invisible Woman's wig. You can tell what was filmed in the original shoot and what was a reshoot, because whether she's got a terrible wig or it's actually dyed hair, because the amount of yellow in her hair is completely different. Whether she's got roots or not, it's just completely different, and so you can tell, and it is really, really distracting.
Like was it Justice League and Henry Cavill's mustache?
Oh yeah, the face.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just give resurrected Superman a beard?
Yeah, that would have been a nice solution. But yeah, characterization, weird. Like, I don't understand how a film could have so much attempt at characterization and yet fall so flat on its face. We constantly had voiceover and narration and background about who this person is, the main character, and where she came from, and all about her. But at the same point, we get no actual insight into who she is, what she's like. But then you take a look at the introduction of Tiny Tina and our other main characters in this prison at the beginning. They basically meet in this prison sequence. We just randomly have the psycho who just decides to hang out with them and be friends with them, like our main heroine does later on, for some reason. But then we just skip on later on, and they're all best buds. Out of nowhere, it's like, okay, so when did this relationship form? Who are you? What's the psycho trying to achieve? Tell me, did that crazy person, the guy, was there any time did we get any indication of what that character, who he was, what he was trying to do, what he was trying to achieve? Anything at all?
But he has the shiniest meat bicycle.
Tina just wanted to be free, okay. But similarly, the guy who broke her out of prison, what was he trying to achieve? What was his goal? He betrayed the organization he was working for this goal. What was it?
To stop Atlas getting to the vault.
Because he decided they're evil because
Yeah.
of, or was it just because they insinuated that he had a bad fling with this other girl?
No, it was just Claptrap being annoying. No, it is very obviously this is something that was kind of left behind. It was his motivation was described in like 2 lines, and Lilith calling him out on it, where he's just says, "Well, we can't let Atlas have it to create super weapons." He's like, "Bitch, you just want this for yourself," and then it cuts away to another scene. But there is like a noir style narration from Lilith's perspective, where she's like over exaggerating her annoyance at the whole situation and telling instead of showing, just to fast track her onto Pandora, and it's really annoying.
That reminded me of my last House on Dead End Street review, where basically we filmed an entire skit at the start, and the camera, the footage was borked, and so I basically had this one shot in that whole intro where I was just zooming in on me, just sitting there. I added a narration explaining that what the scene was about and that how it would got fucked up, and so we had to turn it into a narration.
I remember
And
that.
I got the it's the exact shit that I see. I'm very sure that's what they did here. They repurposed all this stuff and made it into narration.
Is that the skit I cracked my head off the wall?
No, I don't think so. That was one where
Oh,
I was
okay.
sitting there, and in your living room, and Ali was there minioning.
Okay.
Like,
Sometimes we suffer for Czar's art and get hurt in filming of sketches.
as it should be, as it should be. But yeah, I mean, this is a video game adaptation, and sometimes I have to say, sitting through it, watching the film, made me think maybe they should have taken more inspiration from gaming generally, and if it's just not working out, just cancel the goddamn project.
Cough, cough, Concord.
Like there's absolutely that film should not have been released. Either go back to the drawing board and start again, or just not release it because all they've done is they've done damage to their studio, they've done damage to the IP, and almost certainly Gearbox at the same time. It should just never have been released.
I feel like they made so many edits and chopped up the film so much that they panicked, dunked it in a vat of glue, and threw it at a wall and see what would happen.
I imagine they
If
just
they
felt they had to get it out there to
Mm.
just try to do something. Could have taken a better
if they
tax write off.
didn't, yeah, if they didn't release it, think about the bad PR they're gonna get. Kind of like how Warner Brothers got about Batgirl and Acme and stuff like that.
No, it would have been fine
Oh, yeah, but we
because a
know
whole ton of
those were tax
people.
grabs.
We're talking about gamers here, Czar. They would have gone crazy for 5 years and then would have had released the Borderlands cut and hey presto, they have an excuse to spend money and actually release something that was a little better.
Yeah.
If they release it,
And
I
if
got
they
the feeling
don't,
that
oh well.
I got the feeling that it's the curse of the video game films, where you got some of them where, like the original Mario Brothers, where basically it ignores the video game and does something weird with it. And then you got the ones, say the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat one, where Street Fighter actually is more like the first kind. Mortal Kombat's very much the second kind, where it takes something interesting about it and compresses it down to something, and they lower the rating and stuff like that to make it as generic as possible, and then they release it, and it's just kind of crap. If that makes
Yeah.
sense,
Like
it,
the
it
overarching
removes
story.
the flavor and spice from it.
The overarching story did kinda follow the story beats of the first game. They shoehorned in Moxie and Marcus to the point where you could very easily just forget that they were characters in the game if you weren't familiar with them. They there are no reason for being there other than, oh look, it's the bit from the game with the boss. And then there's just they went to a pub because they had nowhere else to go, and there was Moxie. I'm
Well,
surprised they didn't shoehorn in Scooter at one point.
but it is a bit sad that how bad this film has been because it did feel for a while that we'd got past the video game adaptation automatic terribleness with good ones recently. But granted, more in television, but even in film, we had Detective Pikachu recently, But I mean,
Well,
TV definitely.
recently.
Last of Us, Fallout, Arcane have all been excellent video game
Yeah.
adaptations. So yeah, it's definitely maybe this would have worked better as a TV show, a Netflix show. Then again, at least it would have been only a 50% chance it was rubbish.
Well,
What I'm confused by is they cast Jack Black as the voice of the robot, and that's the only person from the original video game who could easily have reprised their role, and they chose to cast Jack Black. Who the fuck is gonna watch this movie just to see Jack Black voice a robot when he's doing a voice which makes him sound not like Jack Black?
true.
It's
He
just
barely
madness.
sounds like him.
It just indicates on the side of the producers that on a certain level they didn't give a fuck about the fans of the game. Not being a fan of the game, I'm not taking that personally, but it is kind of shite.
Just we
See-
could be happy he's just not played by Chris Pratt. He needs to play everybody.
When it comes
That's
to Claptrap 2, in the first Borderlands games, he was supposed to be funny, and a lot of people found him annoying because he was. In the other games, they lent into that and made him annoying on purpose, but he was also still funny. Because Claptrap, his bits have great comedic timing in the games. In the film, he's just annoying. There is no comedic timing. There is no punchlines. It's just annoying.
He never.
Yeah. At one point, they made a shitting joke with him too.
If they wanted to go to the final form of just making him a motormouth who won't shut up and was just really irritating, they should have, they only went halfway. If they wanted to get to the final form of that, they could have cast, what do you call him, Chris Tucker. That would have been done. That would have been so irritating. It would have been an art form.
Of actors, James Hart. I'm sorry, but you're not a badass. You are a fantastic character actor when it comes to comedy and quick wit. But you can't play a badass. Especially not with some of the shit material they gave you to work with.
Yeah.
Isn't Roland meant to be like giant and intimidating?
Yes.
I thought so. Baffling decision.
Yeah. He's supposed to be this massive badass, and he is. Well, actually, no, I'm mixing him up with Brick, who's another character who is supposed to take up half the back of the bus. But Roland is supposed to be an elite soldier and a badass. Like, at the point in the film where he gets absolutely swarmed by the psychos, he is supposed to have taken them all out single-handedly. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
I have a challenge for the audience. Everyone who's watching this. I want you to go down to the comments. I want you to say something positive about this film.
It ended.
I didn't
because
see
we're
it.
clearly struggling.
It ended.
I got really angry and offended whenever Ace of Spades turned up.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
beforehand I was just like, it's crap. But then like Ace of Spades, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to watch Motorhead's appearance in The Young Ones just to bleach out my brain because
And they brought in
Lemmy
Muse's
did not die
supermassive
for
black
this.
hole as well.
Mhm.
Lemmy did not die for this sin.
Yeah, they had some decent music tracks that didn't deserve to be in this film. The backgrounds, some of the sets were actually okay. They did look ramshackle and destroyed that you would expect from the game. So we'll give the props department credit.
But like the best shots look like the worst shot in Furiosa, and Furiosa didn't look spectacular for various reasons.
There's one point in the they're all wanted by Atlas at this point, and they're like sneaking in through the town, and they have like these holographic masks on, and no one else had these holographic masks, so we were all just bitching about that. Sure, You didn't change your clothes at all that are on the poster. You're wearing these very obvious holographic masks. And Czar uttered the ways, no one else is wearing these masks. And then one single person walked across the background wearing one of the masks. It was like, there's one.
Why didn't they just like make it a fashion thing that a lot of people wear these things and wear holographic clothes, or just make them look normal and then reveal it's a surprise that it's them in these outfits because the holograms look real?
Could be
There's
worse.
multiple ways you could handle this, and they chose the dumbest.
It could have been worse. It could have been like the tablecloth robe that nobody seems to find suspicious in any setting ever.
And then Kevin Hart takes off his holographic mask in the middle of a pub, right where people are seeing there's a big bounty for him, and he has a conversation with a buddy of his discussing his bounty.
The buddy who's working for the guys that are trying to track them down, no less.
And then gets surprised when his buddy tries to take him out to claim the bounty. But anyway, you could turn this film into a drinking game. Like, take a drink every time you spot a continuity error, and you will probably be dead by halfway through the film.
Yeah, probably.
Take a drink whenever there's the shoddiest edit, and you'll be dead before the first half hour. Hagen is frozen in disapproving face.
Yeah, I think Hagen's connection is a little bit of a problem, so I think we should probably start to wrap this up before her connection completely dies.
In case it fucks up again on my side, someone else should do the outro.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, guys, thanks for joining us for the Backseat critique. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that fun stuff.
Check out our Patreon and Discord.
100%. We'll even put the Discord into the YouTube.
Doodly doo.
Yeah, the doodly doo. That's what they call it these days, isn't it? All the kids say. So yeah, join us on the Discord. It'd be great to have you there. If you can spare anything, jump on to the Patreon. But a subscribe and a share will be more than appreciated regardless. We'll see you next time for the next Backseat critique, etc.
And if we get a certain amount of likes, I will continue to throw things at Teddy over the monitors while we record.
No, don't like the video. Don't do it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.